We are back once again for the final game of the day. There is no more after this one is done. And Sengoku have charged up and their power level is over 9,000. Will they be able to take this game 5?
And actually, just a quick shout out. Now, it's obviously wonderful to have you all here, but this is not possible without everyone who's working on the team, particularly Chris Edgeworth, who's in the background running production. Of course, working so hard today. Congrats for doing the long broadcasting. These teams, they've also had a long day. They have to now finish it out in one final fight. We've had a history of a couple of Game 5 finals. I seem to remember there was one back in 2020 summer, back against V3. That was a hell of a one that also involved DFM. They lost that Game 5. They have to start digging their heels in again, because what they showed in that finals, wasn't enough. Can they do it today?
I oftentimes feel like when we get to these situations, we have kind of a history of DFM not being very quick to adapt over the course of these longer series. If they don't already have a team figured out when they go in, it's not often that you can see them come in with a new strategy. And so the only thing I can really see likely happening based on the discussions you've had with Kazu is maybe you just have to ban away the LeBlanc. They just haven't been able to deal with it so far today.
Get rid of the LeBlanc. I think everything from there is playable. Just get rid of that LeBlanc.
So are you saying that they're silver scraping the barrel? Or like, where are they going with this draft, Obviously, we talk about banning the LeBlanc. There's obviously some consistent bans they have to take away as well. The Zaya, they're probably going to first pick the Tam. Is there anything else you'd want to see from DFM?
No, I think a lot of what they did was checking off that checklist. It's just Sengoku starting to adding up some extra pieces to start breaking that back down. It is an arms race, and we're really neck and neck in Game 5.
Yeah. I think I still give DFM the edge. I think that's the one game I've seen where Sengoku feel like they've actually come out ahead in the early game categorically. Check Jet's roam timers. Don't let him snowball. I think the game should be winnable for DFM from there.
Well, we will have to find out. We're going to chuck it over to our casters to take us into Game 5. Silver Scrapes, Middle Cop, Mars 1 for the last time. Take us through.
Thank you very much, J-Real. Oh, I'm so excited. We are going to be here. Game 5. That's talking about an arms race, but this is going nuclear. As Mars Swan, we are into draft already, and DFM have already done the thing that they needed to do, taking away the LeBlanc. That might be muting Jet for this game. We'll have to see if he can pull out something different. As Paz is going to be the first to lock in.
My bad. I muted myself still.
DFM on the
Mabi. The Tom Kench, as you were about to mention, banned away from NT. I actually really like this because obviously it's been a hugely important champion. And something just to really set the stage, Middlecott, for this match. We have had 107 games in the LJL in this spring split. It has led to this 108th game. And what a stage. More games than ever in the LJL. And these two teams have fought absolutely valiantly to make it here. Quick responses, though, and DFM are looking to run it back somewhat. Is the Nautilus going to be brought in? I don't know. No copyright sound is in. Hello.
It's a strange space that we find ourselves in this
really
series. Sengoku locking down that Aphelios Nautilus combo, and the Graves Flex available once again, but the TF was unbanned, and DFM locked in the combo that was so effective in Game 2 and Game 3. Game 4, it was the Nocturne, but without that Twisted Fate, and Sengoku were able to get those early game advantages and snowball them oh so quickly. We'll have to see if they're going to be able to do that in this decisive Game 5.
It's going to be something. It's going to be a match for the ages. Remember this one. Months, years from now. Remember, winner of this game will be going to MSI. As it stands, DFM have been able to re-secure their Twisted Fate Nocturne combo. I'm so happy that we're seeing that. Now, what's going to be the adaptation? DFM, though, doubling down. They are banning away Jet and the importance, the core, somewhat you could argue, to Sengoku Gaming.
Has been an insane carry threat in both of their wins. 2 LeBlanc games, 2 Ws on the board. unmatched on that champion as it has been so far. DFM taking that Renekton off the table. They don't want to give Paz one of these safe top laners, but we saw the Sion in the previous game caused Ebby real issues. Maybe Sengoku opt towards that again, but DFM could pull out something different.
I kind of talked about this. I was screaming, where is the set? Where is the Thresh? Finally, we're actually seeing one, and I actually really like this. So, this is a flex between both Eddie, obviously we all know his set, it was the fudge factor kind of came up, and but hey, it is dominant in the LJL, but it's also a flex pick for Harp, so it means Sengoku have to kind of show all their cards right here, right now. They're going with Jet back over onto a Victor, go for a control mage. Bit different for them than what we've seen him on. That LeBlanc has been really their ace in the hole, and you could almost argue maybe they should have just gone for another assassin, maybe something like Akali, similar to what Ebbia pulled out, but maybe finding the victory this time.
Whilst it's a different style, I think the Victor is still an immense carry threat and actually a champion that also snowballs very, very effectively. If you can get a couple of assists, maybe a couple of early kills, that means that you're getting your Hex Core upgrades, which means you get those upgraded abilities. Getting that Death Laser with the Afterburn means your Wave Shove is so much better and you can cause Yaharong some real issues. Urgot locked in for Ebby. He's not going to be able to beat up Paz as much on this pick as he's done to Renekton in previous games.
I want to just jump in.
Going into the bot lane for Heart.
I want to just jump in. Fudge Factor, literally going back to Cloud9 in a weird way. We saw him on Victy like 12 hours ago, really, literally in real time. Absolutely dominate on this pick, so I completely double down with you on that. What I also love is we actually just saw the draft adaptation coming in and the flex pick of Set being huge there. The fact that Urgot's picked into this Scion, Paz is gonna have a terrible time. Like, that is an actual counter pick. And it's weird to see Ebby actually on a proper counter. Ooh, is he feeling okay? This is Silver Scrapes middle cot. Like, we're pulling out the big guns for this. DFM want to go to MSI.
Oh, but so do Sengoku.
Oh,
let's not pretend that there's only one team with a horse in this race, and it is absolutely anything to play for. To a certain extent, we're in a best of one now. Maybe it's the 4 games previous. It don't matter.
It was all
Those are just wins and losses in various columns. It's all about what you do in the next 30, 40 minutes. It's all about what you can put down on the Rift in this Game 5.
Ladies and gentlemen, make it known in Twitch chat. What side are you on? Are you a Sengoku believer or is it DFM supremacy? Honestly, Middlecott, I just adore both these two teams. It'll be fantastic to see Paz return back to the international style. Or can Yaharongan go there for the first time with DFM?
That is a question that will be answered very, very shortly. Game on in the final of the LJL Spring 2022. Sengoku 2 wins, DFM 2 wins as well. Now's the time for hero plays. Now's the time to have the best game of your career. A lot of the members of this DFM squad have already had victories before. Utapon, Steel, Ebby probably got more trophies in that case than they know what to do with, but this would be a major scalp for every single player.
An interesting fact that you just brought up there. Utapon has actually won more in the LJL than anybody else ever in League Esports. He has won 12 titles. DetonatioN FocusMe have won 12 titles. Utapon has been with them for all of them. And what's crazy is he's done it in multiple roles. He's got 2 more W's over Faker. You can tell, though, who the Twitter public and who maybe they want to represent the LJL. Maybe not need, but want. Ebby, though, coming in as if he was on set, though, doing this in vain. This is a set tech for Ebby. Oh, I love this.
It's going to force out the smite from once onto the blue buff. Just a little bit more time. A little bit more time that once has to spend clearing is an advantage for Steel, and Ebby should be fine up in the top side. That Twitter poll was very much in favor of DFM, but if you'd said to Sengoku before this series, you have got a 15% chance of taking down the winningest team in World League of Legends history, I think they would have bitten your hand off with that, and they are in that position as it stands.
And what was also important about what Ebby... Oh, God, they go for it.
Facebreaker, Honey
Nice.
being ignited, may have to flash soon, but Utapon not overstepping to try and get the victory. Cleanse used
Yes.
by the Sengoku AD carry, and this has kind of been the way that bot lane has gone this entire series. It's Utapon and Harp getting the early pressure, but Honey has never really been completely out of the game. That's just how good he is as a player.
Really is. Like, Honey, if you haven't heard the name before, ladies and gentlemen, potentially in 2 or 3 years, you won't be able to stop saying his name. He's genuinely one of those kind of talent players that has really kind of strived and grown hugely. Arya came before him, and Arya was kind of starting to flex into their peak a little bit more when Honey entered the LJL, but what a player to honestly just shout the praises. Jet has come in and had a fantastic performance. Once has had up and downs. He's literally been the best in role, and he's struggled in some split. It's fantastic to see him here. And Paz and NT have been just Mr. Consistent in their respected roles for so many splits. It's great to see them here. And honestly, they're kind of peaking low-key at the moment, but we know players like Honey have higher ceilings.
Oh, yeah. I have no doubt that all the players that we are seeing performing so well in this series have got a bit more gas in the tank as we're going to get later. Facebreaker from Harp, the true damage crucially not hitting onto Honey though, means he's a bit more able to stand up in this lane and dish out some punishment of his own.
One other random thing that I didn't mention, but I would like to bring up. You know when Ebby was doing that level 1 stuff, invading and in? What that also did is gave Steel complete information on what Once is doing, because Steel is the kind of mental game, crazy jungler who can just track pathing of players. We've seen it in international play, you know that. He can just be like, oh yeah, I know where Crabber is. Yes, I'm bringing that up again because it's too much fun not to. We've all got to enjoy on the revel that is the greatest LCS meme in the last few years. I'm actually coming over to this as we're in a little bit of a lull state. I can't think of a better meme out of NA since outside of Crabber.
Oh, I mean, just
I'm
generally the whole
actually trying
DFM beating Cloud9. I don't even know if that's a meme. It's just like one team being
That's
better
just
than the
spitting
other
facts,
on the
mate.
day.
Yeah.
And the fact that we've got Sengoku really pushing it to DFM makes me actually kind of optimistic for the state of the region, because for so long, LJL has been this one-team region. Everyone beats everyone apart from DFM beats everyone, and then they win the split as well. We've seen V3 take them down in finals in the past in 2020, and we're seeing Sengoku push them close again. I'm so excited for this.
Oh, but we're still in that beginning phase. Steel is just farming up. They're looking to just get that level 6. But remember, both these two teams kind of just like want to scale a little bit. They want to get their first item spike. They want to hit 6 and get those ultimates. So far, everyone's trading somewhat evenly, except for this top lane.
As Ebby really taking the hurt to Paz, but he might be the one hurting in a moment's time. Once making his way to the top side, Ebby slowed down by the smoke screen, still has that flash. Dash coming off of cooldown soon, gets that shield, gets a couple shots to the back of the head, and stays alive. But Honey punishes an invade from Steel and secures first blood for Sengoku.
I don't know how any of that happened, but congratulations to Sengoku taking away another first blood. This hasn't been always on DFM as opposed to that previous series. And hey, with something like this, Harp can look to be aggressive.
Trying to dive onto NT, but the Nautilus can buy a lot of time with that Glacier. We're seeing double TP come through from Sengoku. They know they need to win the early game, and they are going to do it here. Flash over the wall from Jet, landing the Chaos Storm, landing the Gravity Field as Paz is trying to slow down Harp, but DFM are responding. Here comes the TF Destiny Gate. What is your fate, Sengoku? Will you fall or will you rise? That's a first kill on the fight for Utapon, a second there for Yaharong. They overstepped, they overstayed. Paz is dead as well. Once trying to make a play, throws out the collateral damage. It's the end of the line for Harp, and now it just peters out. Ebby is going to be able to push in a hell of a lot of minions, get a hell of a lot of plates on the top side of the map, and DFM, they are not letting Sengoku take their crown.
Ends up being a 3-for-2 in favor of Detonation FocusMe, but it didn't start out so well. They lost Soul at the very, they lost Steel at the very beginning, and great idea from them, but Honey, you just don't hands check Honey. He's one of the best in the region, and honestly, I am still confident in saying he has the potential to be one of the greats if he has those opportunities and continues at the trajectory he's going on. But this was so well played by the members of DFM when they realized everything was going pear-shaped. They're like, go, 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 dive, 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 collapse, 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 and Udapon is the player that is not dived or collapsed upon by Sengoku Gaming. They're able to rotate around really well here, and it's only once that kind of redeems them a little bit. Honey as well also getting another kill. So it could have been a lot worse.
Yes.
But it could have been a lot better from the side of Sengoku, and frankly also DFM. These two teams are just jostling for position, aren't they?
They are really fist fighting each other. And Lexi, we have come across a circumstance we haven't really seen before. Two kills onto Honey, 2 kills onto Utapon as well. We hyped up the power level of these AD carries, and while they may have been overshadowed at points in this series by the likes of Jet, the likes of Yaharong, the likes of Ebby as well, they are still immense carry threats, and there is nothing more that I want to see in the final game of this series than 2 of the best AD carries that this region has ever seen going hell for leather.
These two teams are well and truly playing around everything. Rift Herald has just spawned. DFM typically has always prioritized that over a dragon, but I guess when you consider how Sengoku adapted in their playstyles and kind of started injecting more into these dragons, DFM giving them a bit more respect and actually placing a lot more vision around this bot side. But then that does also kind of make sense and play into where DFM are at the moment, because guess what? All their gold is currently on their mid and bot side as opposed to their top side. Think about it. While Honey is doing great, he's had to deal with a lot of pressure on this bot lane, which has kind of meant there's a 2-wave disparity between these AD carries, which has led to Utapon getting 6, at least half a wave earlier, if not further. It's also led into just more gold. He's gone for that cull, which Honey hasn't been able to do for though. There's a lot of pressure on Utapon to really be the carry for DFM in this game, but Paz hasn't died in this. Well, Paz has died in this top side, so they always have the backup plan of Ebby. So I think Sengoku have a lot of different angles they need to be worried about, is what I'm trying to set up. That's the main point here, Middlecourt.
Well, I
think that I got that there eventually.
I think we got that there.
I think we did. I fumbled that.
Mate, this series I think has taken a toll on definitely both of us, but all 10 players on the Rift as well, and it's when the experience of winning multiple titles and getting to these finals can really come into play. It's DFM who have a marginal advantage at this point, but it is just that 1,000 gold we've seen numerous times throughout this series, throughout this split, throughout League of Legends history, that those leads can be turned around in an instant. And with the team fighting that Sengoku have displayed, they are definitely the sort of team that can fight back from those disadvantages.
And remember, DFM got double counter pick. They baited with this set, and then they transitioned actually into the Urgot. Remember, they knew what they were doing in their jungle matchup as well. So there's a lot riding on DFM right here, right now, to be confident in the decisions they make. They decided they wanted some of this, and they've currently got themselves to a 1k gold advantage. Now, that's a little negligible, but a lot of that gold is currently over onto Utapon. So, and Yaharong because of the TF passive, and that's just how that works when you have 93 CS. You just earn a few hundred gold because, I mean, let's talk about a tangent because we're still going to wait for action if these two teams actually have it. Think about how many lines of text everything else has on these new champions nowadays, but if you're just Twisted Fate, more gold is best passive.
Gold is great, and it means that you can accelerate towards the Everfrost rapid fire cannon spike very, very quickly. DFM maybe choosing to fight before those spikes are online. Drake still on the board, 11.5 minutes in. Sengoku haven't been able to get that early priority onto this objective like they were in the previous matchup, and DFM are going to be more than happy with that, more than happy to play the map and deny potential win condition from their opponent's Harp. Far up in Sengoku's jungle, and maybe a little bit caught out here as he's taking so much damage, throws out the face breaker! And Jet secures the kill. Early gold on the Victor is excellent, and that's priority around the Drake for Sengoku.
Yeah, absolutely. And DFM were pinging this out. They were pinging over onto NT as he ran over that ward. The fact is now you just got to give it over. And I mean, early Umbral Glaive for once on this Graves has just been like kind of cookie cutter. We've questioned it in previous games before, not this series, but in previous series where it's potentially not looked as good. However, DFM love having vision, so once it's kind of getting rewarded for the amount of vision that DFM in general just throw out there at the moment. As let's come into this replay, and I have to end on the point that you ended on as well, Middlecott. Jet picking up this kill, so huge. So huge. DFM know, by the way, that these two are coming up. The fact that NT does this blind hook just in case, the CC chain into not being able to see anything from Graves, it was just so nice. But the fact that they get that gold, they feed it into Jet, has meant, hey, look at that. First items coming out. Everything's gonna keep going Sengoku.
Mythics completed for both of these mid laners, both of the AD carries as well.
Oh, yeah.
Everfrost is the dish of the day, as it just provides that little bit more lockdown to both these compositions, which are so high damage. Like, you've got a Nocturne and a Graves in the jungle. These are not champions like the Jarvan, champions like the Lee Sin that can become a little bit irrelevant as we get later into the game. Damage-wise, they are going to be going hell for leather. They are going full force, and they might be going for Paz in this top lane. Ultimate's available, but it's an interrupt. Yaharong, he stops the unstoppable onslaught from Paz. Definitely not unstoppable as he's pulled into the belly of Ebby, who takes him out. And Jet TP'd into the top side, but will find nothing. And Honey finds a hell of a lot of damage onto the back of his head as it's Enti thrown into tower. Ignite on him. And Utapon with the kill. Have Sengoku made two crucial mistakes? And have DFM given themselves enough an advantage to keep pushing forward?
Well, the fact is, at the end of the day, Once wasn't a part of either of those side of the map plays. He was right slap bang in the middle, so he couldn't do anything.
Up, stancing up. Honey is low on mana, but Once is coming over. Teleport channeled here. Paz charging forward. Doesn't have the ultimate and stands into the chompers.
Oh, no.
That's a flub. That's a TP invested. A second wasted TP from Sengoku in a minute. And in this game 5, they are not executing as cleanly as they would like.
No, but this is not ring the bell panic moment. Sengoku, take a moment. Reset yourselves. This is still good, and Enti could do this.
Too far forward. The Ghost just enough to get away. Double Everfrost pot, but it's only Jet who ends up being rooted. Yaharong speeds himself out of there.
He well and truly does. And by the way, if Enti just lands a hook and they have like Jet with somebody else on their team, they're dead. I'm sorry, anybody on the side of DFM, if Enti lands a hook and there's more than 2 members, they're dead. Well, it's actually if there's 2 or more. But I want to come back because the gold graphs is here. And we mentioned about, obviously, the side of Sengoku, they want their gold to go on this mid-jungle bot lane. That's where all their damage is. DFM, it's all on Utapon at the moment, and you can't really blame them for wanting to inject all the gold onto this Jinx because Honey's made it look so damn good in the past, but the original player of the LJL who made it look good, that was Utapon. He's been making it look good for years.
1.8k up on the Jinx as it stands, translating into that cull and the Zeal as well. But DFM, they're not willing to overstep. They don't want to go too far against Sengoku, and that means that they might go for this play if they think they can make it work. Showstopper down onto Once, who's taken so much damage. The ultimate from Utapon secures it. It's the TF Nocturne combo once again, securing kills for DFM, and it's Sengoku
he's in danger.
Who still can't reply. Still flashes forward, secures the fear tether onto Honey, who's trying to walk away, throws out the Moonlight Vigil, but it's not going to be enough. The Death Laser from Jet does pick up a kill as Yaharong is being slowed down, running towards the tower, but it will go down before he is in range. It's DFM pushing the advantages. They are now 4k up.
Yeah, and while it's really unfortunate they lost Steel in that exchange, the fact that Jet was only able to get 1 on the reply back and then DFM go ahead and get that first turret on the map you can really feel like DFM are trying to pull the screws onto the side of Sengoku Gaming. That execute from Yutapon was huge because it gets him excited. It allows him to try and join this team. But in actuality, they decide, hey, Yuta, you push this bot lane. Let's get that sorted. We'll just indent onto this. They get the gold card. Yaharong has to flash forward for it. But they used a lot for it, but it was all worth it because, hey, if you now look at the gold lead, if you look at the scoreboard at the moment, it's kind of all DFM favored.
Yeah, that is bad reading for Sengoku fans. I know we've got a couple of those who'll be watching this game with...
But it's not over for Sengoku yet. Like, I think that's the important thing to make out. Like, Sengoku are going to get this Rift Herald. That's an important... it's something, right? We have to clutch at straws a little bit, but that doesn't... Just one bad play like that going awry isn't the end of the game. It's if a full 5-man team fight goes bad, that's when Sengoku might have to start ringing the alarm bell.
And I mean, look at Jet, right? He's 2-1-2 on this victory.
Yeah.
He's going to be a massive damage threat and he's getting towards the Void Staff extremely quickly. So yeah, Yutapon is in a brilliantly accelerated space, but if you had to ask me whether I prefer to have a 2-item mage or a 2-item AD carry on the board at this point into the game, I feel like I would be favoring the Victor.
Yeah, Victor, I mean, is always scary. We've seen it far too much in just general pro play at the moment. For my liking, personally, I'm not a huge fan of Victor. I know, all right, but that aside, Victor outputs redonkulous damage, and if you can get the ult on top of like 2 or 3 targets for a few game ticks, you can single-handedly win a team fight. The fact that you've got Honey, the fact that you've got Once, and then you've got Paz and Enti who are really good at just playing the like tank frontline. We saw that in that last game, remember? They were fantastic at doing that. If Sengoku play a few 5-man team fights and DFM can't really opt into them effectively, it's gonna be their favor. They're looking for something here.
Hey, maybe, but this has been a slip-up as Ebby is just teleporting directly into Paz's face, and yeah, you can flash over the wall, you can dash away as much as you like, but I don't think you've got an exit strategy, Ebby. Jet with his 3rd kill of the game. Crucially, Sengoku don't quite get that mid-lane tower, but they are not going down. They are not falling back.
And Sengoku did have to use 3 ults for that kill. Like, that's not lie, but they're also going to be getting their first tower, and it's the mid tower, and normally that's the tower everybody always wants, and because DFM haven't responded, Sengoku are just going to keep knocking on the front door going, hello, is anybody home? DFM respond late, so no.
And that gold lead has been cut in half. Yaharong will secure the top lane tower to get a little bit more gold onto himself, but TF not really going to be benefiting from that too much. The Lich Bane that we saw from him a couple games ago was pretty poggers, but this TF is much more focused on being that enabler, and with the Everfrost and Rapid Fire Cannon already locked down, he can do that absolutely fine.
He sure as hell can, but with hell and high water, DFM are looking for something, and hey, Rascal Jester did this to Sengoku a few times, but have they grown wise to it? That's the question.
Sengoku were throwing out some missing pings as the paranoia comes through, but Steel may have overstepped. Showstopper onto the side, so much damage into the backline as it's Harp securing the first kill, but a massive ultimate from Paz puts Sengoku in a decent spot. It's still 2-for-1 in favor of DFM. But they can't step up any further. Steel is dead.
But they got health bars on their side. They could look at trying to push them a bit further, but DFM aren't going to opt into it. They're just going to prevent them. And Middlecott, Sengoku kind of caught out a little bit. And if we see 1 or 2 more of those, it could be DFM favored because normally I'd be like, hey, it's not a big deal. Yutapon's 5-0-2 right now. So, and this is who I want to focus on in this team fight because Yutapon's the one that goes untouched for most of this. Honey tries to go forward, but then has to back out, and then that Super Mega Death Rocket gives Yutapon just another kill. Yuta's the target, Sengoku, and if you don't get on top of him, you will lose. He's got 2 items. I love the Rapid Fire Cannon second item. He just wants to stay out of the range of Paz and Enti, and also Jet. And if he can stay out of their range, he hasn't got anything to worry about.
Yeah, I think if you're Sengoku, you want to be looking for these flangles now. You want to be catching DFM by surprise.
Don't humor them.
and picking them
Forgot who I'm
off.
casting with
Ocean
for a
Drake
moment there.
may be an opportunity to find some of those picks. Both teams currently sat on 1 Drake apiece. But if you're able to get a 3-stack Ocean Soul, that's going to be a hell of a lot of healing in these later team fights. And we've not got many assassins on the board. So in these longer fights, that bonus healing, that regen, is going to be very impactful.
But this is Silver Scrapes, Middlecop. This is where we found ourselves after 4 games, after 107 matches of the LJL. This is what it's culminated to, and these two teams, they're still jostling for position. Yeah, DFM have a slight gold lead, but remember an infamous Sengoku tweet. We play late game, and we're hitting the 22-minute mark. Remember, in one of these matches, DFM looked like the game was over at 26 minutes. They ended it with the Nexus exploding. It doesn't quite feel that way, and yeah, NT's died a few times. Yeah, Paz has died a few times. That's kind of their job, ladies and gentlemen, because if Honey, if Jet don't go on, if they go untouched, especially coming into this fight, they're pretty happy. But Yaharong has TP. They're gonna have the Destiny. They've got the combo wombo ready, and he's just walking down. If he doesn't have to use his TP, he'll be very happy.
And this is reminding me of a previous setup that we saw in the last game. Lexi Steel ended up ulting onto Paz, and the fight went in Sengoku's favor. It's a defensive Destiny from Yaharong just to get himself into the fight. Hook lands onto Ebby as he's taking so much damage into the backline. Dives hard as he tries to get as much true damage as he can. 2 kills already secured by Jet as Utapon does get a reset and wants to pop off as much as he can. But he's not quite able to find the target access because of that gravity field. The Drake in DFM's favor, the fight for Sengoku.
It's really just edges here. The paranoia kind of prevented the side of Sengoku from even attempting to try and secure that. But it really was just Paz and crew playing the fight really well, but DFM securing this Drake. And that, this is paranoia doing its job to get them the objective. The issue is, they inject a lot of their cooldowns straight onto NT, who then Zhonya's as well. Probably didn't need to Zhonya, but hey, I mean, it also kind of allowed Utapon to stay excited for a bit longer, but ultimately, it led to the side of Sengoku getting 2 kills because they went so deep to try and kill NT. But the shutdown gold now on Utapon is 700 gold, and if you can get that onto Honey, or if you can get that onto Jet, or hell, at this point, once, Sengoku might be able to turn this game around. Oh my, what a game 5.
It was a 4K deficit for them 10 minutes ago. It is a 2K deficit for them now. DFM haven't been able to push their early advantage. Sengoku have been fighting back. 6 kills, 3 items on Jet as it stands, picking up that Zhonya's too. Buy a little bit more time, have a little bit more safety, be able to reset those cooldowns in team fights without taking damage. And he's going to be having to fight up against Utapon, who has now completed that Infinity Edge. 2 of the best performing players in the LJL going to be going all at it. And it's still finding the engagement. He gets knocked up. They can't find the assassination onto once. That's Destiny Bird. That is Fear Beyond Death Bird. That is Super Mega Death Rocket and the Destiny Gate taken off the table. All those proactive tools down for DFM.
Yeah, Paz did decide to TP in, but guess what? He's got Spellbook, so he can just rotate that back around. Ebby had to use his, but he can't rotate around. There's an exhaust currently on Paz, and they can do Baron. They absolutely can, Middlecop.
There is so much damage on this Sengoku lineup. The Baron is already down to 5k, but they are being flanked. Harp trying to find an engage, does pick up the star, goes into the team, gets a double facebreaker, and Honey has been stunned, but not taken out. Ebby looking for a kill, finds Jet. That's the main carry for Sengoku, and that means the fight is going to go disastrously, but Honey is popping off on the side, somehow still alive, somehow still doing the damage. Low health bars for DFM. Does Yaharong want to step up? Does Utapon want to chase? Or will they let Honey run away? They're going to back off. They're going to return to the Baron.
This is super risky if you're Sengoku, because guess who has TP? It's Jet.
In a game 5, they're going to go for it, though. Still
gosh.
14 seconds on the Victor, and I'm not sure if he's going to be respawning in time. It's Honey, the lone warrior, the one person standing in DFM's way of securing this Baron, and the paranoia has inflicted mental damage, has inflicted psychic damage onto Sengoku's AD carry, and he does not step up. He just backs himself away. DFM, they secure the Baron. Maybe that's enough.
While fear means you can't block artifact or black creatures, fear here means you run away in terror from the side of Detonation FocusMe, and they've got multiple ways to make you fear. This fight goes in their favor, but I mean, Ebby had to face tank literally Honey and NT at the same time, and so many members. They win that team fight, they get the Baron, but it feels like this game was still on a knife's edge. Let's see what DFM can actually make off of this Baron buff. They are going to have it, though, for Ocean, which means they probably can get to Ocean's Soul. And then the question's going to be, is it enough of a lead for DFM to close this game out with that combo that they've brought into this series? Or is it going to be Sengoku finding the way, scaling up, just getting a few more items and kind of going, that was cute and all, DFM, but we scale? Which is it going to be? I feel like I'm DFM favored at the moment with that 5k gold lead they've got, but I'm not counting out Honey or Jet anymore. They've shown miracles.
They absolutely have. They've displayed miraculous performances to even get themselves to this final, let alone take us to a Game 5. DFM starting to push now with this Baron buff, taking out that mid lane tower, trying to reclaim some of the gold lead that Sengoku so beautifully snatched away from them. And it's the 12-time champions who, for the moment at least, have the advantage and have that pressure around the Ocean Drake. Sengoku can opt in. They can go for it. They are not too far behind that they are irrelevant in these fights, but it is going to be a tough, tough task. They're not going to go for it. They're just going to give this one over to DFM, but that puts you on a timer. If you're not able to force DFM away from that Drake in the next 5 minutes and deny that soul from them, you may have just signed your own death warrant.
I think it was kind of a devil's play for the side of Sengoku if they decided to opt into that. They didn't have Baron, and the fact that DFM have Baron, they could prep their waves. Yaharong was split pushing. It's a difficult option for them to make the call. I would have loved it if they had decided to go basically like 3-man, 4-man onto Yaharong, but the issue is it's a twisted fate, so if he ever feels a little bit scared, he'll just Destiny and have a look. The side of DFM, though, rotating around, hopeful to try and find somebody. They didn't, because guess what? Sengoku are a smart team, and they don't just hang around just for the sake of hanging around. Though they do sometimes do that, so, I mean, hey, they're not flawless, they're not perfect, but that's on Burning Core, the player flawless, so I have to hold up as it is standing currently. That Baron power play has actually been the smallest one in this series, so only 1.3k, and the team fight kind of explains why. The fact is they weren't really able to knock down any of the base of Sengoku Gaming as it stands really with that buff, and middle court, Sengoku holding the door rather well.
Holding it, but DFM are trying to crash down.
Oh yeah.
They are trying to get an axe through that door, and Sengoku maybe stared lying in the bath with a knife and not able to get out of it. I like what they're doing, though. They're trying to get Honey towards this third item as quickly as possible. We saw once give over the Scuttle Crab to his AD carry, and I'm telling you, if a jungler does that for you, give him an honor after the game, because that's a real tough thing for a jungler to do. But now we see it, the Infinity Edge completed. Yudabon, still an item up, but Honey at least partially relevant. It's not so much a battle of the AD carries as it is Jet versus Yaharong, but Honey is going to be contributing as much damage as he can.
Yeah, Yaharong also up to 4 items, so I mean, hey, he's not going to do a lot of damage, but that Lich Bane now there, it's going to do more with that Zonya as well, though Paz taking a lot of damage. Oh.
Yeah, the Sign is incredibly tanky, though. Pull back into his team with that Showstopper, and Paz is still alive. DFM, they may have made the play onto the wrong member of Sengoku, as the Fear Beyond Death is also going to be used. Rocket thrown out once. 30% HP, as Honey may have overstepped here. Is going to be forced to cleanse, but still gets rooted. Solo HP as Yaharong flashes for blue card. Takes out the AD carry, and NT's going to be falling as well. 2 for 0 so far for DFM, and the Rockets are starting to fire out from Unipon, the longest standing player on this roster, dealing the damage and maybe securing them another title.
What a performance there. The blue card, it doesn't matter what color the card is. If you get the kill, you get the win. DFM, it's 30 minutes. They could genuinely look to end.
Paz and once against the world, but I'm not sure it's going to be enough. We thought but they could have stood up. They did stand up. It was exceptional as Paz goes golden, but isn't going to be able to buy enough time. There was the possibility of a new Shogun, of a new Emperor, but DFM reigns supreme and are your LJL champions.
And was there ever any doubt? Congratulations to Detonation FocusMe, a new roster for this historic organization. Remember to last split, we had Kazu coming in, we had Gang subbing itself out, we had the superhero of the LJL, that was Arya, joining in. With them both leaving though, Yaharong and Harp had humongous shoes to fill. And they've done it. They did it, and everyone was asking that question. I didn't power rank them up here, Middlecott, but they did it, and I couldn't be happier for them.
And obviously with the joy for DFM for another title in that cabinet, it's pain, it's sorrow, it's heartbreak for Sengoku, a team that almost weren't here. They had to reverse sweep their way in the most ridiculous fashion versus Rascal Jester to even get to this series. And after Game 2 and Game 3, we all thought it was curtains. We all thought the DFM were going to clean it up, but they came back in Game 4. They made this a series. And they walk away from this one in defeat, but can walk away with their heads held high.
Middlecott. Summer split. How fire is it gonna be now?
Oh, it is gonna be absolutely ridiculous. This is not a one-team region anymore.
We're not.
DFM claimed the title, but it was damn difficult. And Lexi, that's gonna be it from us today.
We're done. Take a bow, sir. You deserve it. Really
I don't know about you. It has been an honor to cast this game. It has been an honor to see these teams face off.
It's been a pleasure as well. I'll do it again with you. Another 5. Want to do it right now? No, I don't think we got
Let's run it back. Let's run it back.
No. DFM, get on the rift.
But no. Yeah. It's time to throw to our analysts, who I'm sure have got a lot of thoughts about one of the best series of League of Legends I've ever watched.
I just want to remind Lexi and Alex, who did power rank DFM first at the beginning of the split, because feeling pretty vindicated now. A lot less
I was muted. It's fine. We're back. It's all good. We have a lot of thoughts to go through, a lot of smiling faces, because we all predicted DFM to win. Maybe not in the manner that it was, but what can I say? We started with Yu-Gi-Oh! And at the end, it was Jaharong with the Exodia to finish it off there, catching out Honey. And what a play to make. But how are you guys feeling after that series?
It's a weird moment after a finals, because for those of you who have tuned in, and thank you very much for supporting us on this stream of ours, we've been at this for just over 2.5 years. Sam and I, we started casting here. This is what we did. Yeah. We started this fan broadcast, and to have games like this get noticed, to be so excited in the green room, screaming our lungs out while they're screaming their lungs out on screen, it's a really kind of, it's a poignant moment, and we like to have a couple of them here and there. And obviously to Lexi and to Middlecott, congratulations on your first LGL finals cast. We gave you this one. We're going to fight it back in summer. It has been an incredible series, and this is DFM's 12th title. Oh my god, this team just cannot quit. Nope. Discuss.
Yeah. I mean, this is my 6th year watching LJL and covering it, and to various degrees over the past couple of years, and it's kind of just been this crazy up and down, right? You go to the finals, you just always kind of assume that DFM are going to make it there, and usually it's not particularly close. Every now and then we get teams like V3 of the past and Sengoku who start to challenge them, but we were all expecting this to be another one of those very quick stomps from DFM. They 3-0'd them in the Juggernaut Winners Finals. They 3-0'd them during the regular season. But not this time. This time we got to see Sengoku really fly, and it's very exciting, as Lexi and Middlecott were saying, to start looking towards the summer season when we'll get to see Sengoku back in full form.
It's like, before we continue praising DFM, because rightly they deserve it. They've been a truly incredible team, and they played a very good series here. But I think some credit has to be given to their opponents, because what a glow up from a slightly scrappy early start to the season to getting absolutely dismantled in the Juggernaut match, to the reverse sweep, to coming in with a series like that where they at least managed to fight back, play some of those late game clutch scenarios, pull out that game 4 where you snowball it against a team like DFM. That takes some serious skill, and Here's hoping for summer they can continue to challenge, continue to push this region onwards, because they certainly did so today.
And you go back a couple of years ago, even to 2020, actually, the question was still very prevalent around the LJL, just saying they will never succeed internationally because they don't have good enough individual players. And that was said for quite a while, a long time. And I think I look back just 2 years ago to where we are now, when you have Arya, who's then left. We have questions about what's going to happen about a mid lane talent. But last year, we ended up actually hitting home at international for the first time ever, let's be honest. You get Jet, you get Yaharong, you get Harp coming in. You have so many players who have raised the level of what it means to play in the LGL. There is pedigree here, there's history here. And, sending DFM to MSI off of a 3-2, sometimes like, oh, surely they maybe both teams are just kind of weak on the day. No, both these teams look good. I think that Sengoku adapted. I think that they improvised and overcome. We can do plenty of that kind of meme with the Bear Grylls, whatever. But they LeBlanced their way to a 3-2. But I do think that I look at both these teams, and I would have been happy sending either of them to MSI. I think DFM, off of their body of work in the regular season, are the deserving champions, and it is a 12th title for them. Reiterate that again. This is the most winning team regionally anywhere. T1 has 10 titles in their own region, LCK, and that's obviously going to be like the world record for probably the most impressive domestic performance. But DFM have held such a streak here of dominance and pedigree and talent that it is awesome to see them once again go internationally with their hopes renewed.
Yeah, they were absolutely great today. Obviously, there's some question marks that everyone's going to have, but I don't even know if I see it as question marks, because it's Sengoku also just playing so well. Like, shout out to Jet, really. I feel like if I was going to give an MVP to Sengoku, it's 100% Jet, like, absolutely smurfing on the LeBlanc. But DFM, they held strong. And one thing I really like to see is that they kind of gained that mental fortitude. They won games 2 and 3 after coming off that loss. Then they lost game 4. Things were a bit shaky, but game 5, they came through serious. They were able to play their stuff, and they just made it work. And I don't know if we have any of the clips ready and prepped, but
just put one up.
Just chuck any of them on there because there's so many good moments in this game.
Yeah, and really honestly, at this point, I feel like we could just check up any clip from any moment in the series and have a good conversation about it, because it has been a real journey throughout this best of 5. All good best of 5s do have somewhat of that journey, because I think that when we saw DFM really crack Sengoku in games 2 and 3, we're saying, look, you can't really defend bot lane now. What are you going to do? You don't have the Tom Kenj. How are you going to deal with diving onto it? To see the comeback from that was really interesting for me on kind of like the analytical level. I sit here as kind of like a fan of both teams, but seeing how Sengoku kind of dealt with that, and then DFM kind of reiterate again and say, yeah, no, but this time we still have the globals to go elsewhere. It was really interesting to see from DFM's side.
Yeah, because remember, like in game 4, we said, well, DFM don't see an answer to the LeBlanc. But the other side of that coin was Sengoku have not had an answer to the TF. And Yaharong's TF was really, really critical. Then you go down towards this bot side play, and Yutapon and Harp were deleting people in the 2v2 all series long. Such a good bot lane.
Yeah, I think that one of the few games, or I guess, in game 4, right, when Honey really started taking control of the bottom lane, we got to see for the first time that Yutapon and Harp weren't just totally dominating everything. But I feel like the really impressive thing to me about Yutapon is he's such a tenured player. He's been playing for so long. The only player who has been playing with the same team for longer than Yutapon is literally Faker on T1, right?
And actually, quick addendum to that. So Faker has been subbed out of that roster a number of times in Season 5, in Season 8 a couple of times too, and of course last year when the roster shenanigans were happening in T1. Yutapon has never been subbed out of DFM. He has played. He is the longest standing starting player in League of Legends history. Ever since like April 2013, he has been on DFM starting roster. That is insane. I get one of them.
You get one. But the thing that impressed me was, like, I talk a lot about the pocket, right? Finding places where you are able to free hit and nobody can really attack you. Yutapon was so inventive with his ability to find places. He was willing to walk up a lot farther than a lot of other AD carries, knowing that there's nothing that can hit him. And it created a lot of situations where a lot of other AD carries, even potentially Honey, would not have been able to do the kind of things that Yutapon did because of how long this guy has been playing at the top level.
Knows it so well, and like we saw like one of the few plays that went against DFM once the mid game rolled around, where they kind of like
playing away from Yutapon.
And unfortunately, he teleports onto a ward, and the collapse came through for every. But this was kind of it, right? Like after this, it felt like I'm pretty sure every play went DFM's way. They get 2 towers here, and that's a nice breath reprieve for Sengoku, because a lot of the plays before this had just gone very wrong. See that bot lane play where all the teleports came through and they get the towers down there and all of like Honey's summoners and the rest of it. But you're still seeing DFM playing the map wide. Yarong is out there, and it's not even enough of a game breaking or a win to come back into the game in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and I don't know if we can get the clip where it was around the Baron pit, because we talked a little about some new words coming through in the League of Legends scene. We talked about flangle, we've talked about flanked, like pronunciation's still a little bit left for me. But we've got another one, which is schmovemented, because that is exactly what Utapon did. He's making words for us, because this fight was so clinical by them.
I'm pretty sure this is just after the pick, isn't it, onto Heavy? When they're like,
No,
okay, let's go Baron, let's see if we can force them to us. But then they end up getting into a place where DFM can actually flank, and there is no on the end of it. They can get a multi-angle fight, and what really solves this is Utapon he's just ice skating around here. We normally say that about Lucian, but he gets so much boost you can get exciting and the rest of it. That he just outplays most of Sengoku, and you can see what happens when you have the Jinx versus the Fellows, and the Jinx has just that little bit of extra consistent range to play with.
Look, key to a good broadcast, guys, a little bit behind this curtain. You set up a point, then you illustrate, and the analysts feel really smart. Joshi just said, Utapon, so good at finding these plays, gets away with stepping up a bit further.
The pocket, yeah.
When you can do something like this, you see what he means exactly. Movement.
Yeah, the movement is unreal, and it's magical to watch. As you said, like ice skating. Disney doing some stuff on ice, that's magical. This is even as good. But all in all, DFM, they just made the plays, and I think we got one more clip coming up.
Yeah, as we take a look at the final clip, it's one of these few situations where the game or the fight looks over. It doesn't look like there's anything more happening, but DFM staying a little bit longer in terms of actually thinking about the game. And Honey, for the first time this game, steps just a little bit too far forward, and the flash blue card coming out from Yaharong, getting that reset in order to allow Utapon to really take control. And we get to see just how much damage. Now it's covered up because Slan's, this big fat boy, and nobody can see any numbers behind it, but the fact that Jet just disappeared, right underneath the tank's eyes, is just kind of a testament to how well Utapon was able to play all the points earlier, that now he doesn't need to play as well because he can just right-click people.
You can run at people and literally just I'm gonna press right click or attack move and do nothing else, and I will still win this fight. That is what items do on Jinx.
And now I don't think we voted for an MVP yet.
We'll wait on that. Okay, I've got one more thing to do then. Okay, just before we get back into things, because again, this is a fan broadcast, but this split, we've had a lot of people involved. I think it's time to actually shout out some of the names. There's going to be a lot of names flying at you, but to Ari, Chris Edgeworth is on prediction today, to Eris, Fake Spoods, Hina, to Infinite Dodge, to Naka, to Max Formal, Melvin Nizzle, Middle Cop, Midnight, Oak, Reed, Temporal, Umi, Chimo, Joshi, who's joined us today, Brackish Bray, Ebrom, Echo KO, Joe, who helped with so much of the production throughout the front end of things, J Real yourself for doing the production, Kashka, Korsakov, our own LJL account that's still in the Discord, Mabinogi, who came in to guess us so many times, Meg for some of the production, Random Minion Caster, and Beautiful Crow. Thank you so much for continuing this project with us, and that's of course myself, Initialize, and Mass One as the founders of this project. It's always great to see this grow year on year, give space to people in the amateur and semi-pro casting scene to really take a step forwards, to go cover a region with so much history. And for you, of course, watching, it means a lot for us to show our craft to you, to continue it, and have games like this, which means so much after that point to look back on and say, you know what, we covered that, and it was great doing it. So to everyone who's been involved with this product, and for anyone who I have missed the name of, I called everyone, thank you so much for helping us achieve this.
We'll say, I can't speak for everyone, obviously, but I'm pretty sure they would have the same sentiments as me. But obviously, shout out to you two as well, and Mars Swan, for giving us this opportunity and setting up what a great broadcast this has become. So, obviously, give yourself a pat on the back.
Great. Thank you for agreeing. That's true.
But to bring it back to the MVP, I normally play a game, Mess or Impress. We're not playing no Mess today because it was just such a good game. But we're going to do the Impress. Joshi, you've never played this one before, or maybe you have, but basically, you're going to tell me who really impressed you today and a little bit as to why, and you can kick it off.
I mean, I gotta say, it just has to be Utapon, right? Throughout most of the first half of the series, he was kind of quiet. It was mostly focused around how Yaharong and Steel were playing together, but quietly throughout the entire series, we got to see really smart positioning from Utapon every single time. He was never the reason why they ended up losing, and he was always a big part of their wins.
And you know what? I know we use the segment to kind of highlight multiple people, but it is still Utapon for me. I think that Utapon has, like, for so often when you have players like Ebby on your team, like Arya of last year, when you had Saros in Prime, they're the ones that take the resources. You have to take a back seat. I mean, Utapon's most played champion is Ezreal, for God's sake. He plays so much that champion over his history. He's just had to sit there and kind of just be like, you know what, I'll do the back end. Don't worry about it. He has, in this split, stepped up so magnificently. We know that he's a top-tier player. We know that he's adaptable. But for him to say, I still got feet that can fill these shoes, it's really impressive to see, again, a player of this tenure do it again. And it's it's very satisfying to see. It's got a real, like, heart motivation part in it.
100%. And then Initialize, who was your impress?
Well, they both said Utapon, so I'll go on the other side of the rift, because I think it would be a travesty if none of us mentioned Jet, because holy moly, this guy is good. Guys come in out of nowhere, Korean import that no one really knows a lot about, and puts out this kind of performance against some of the best this region has to offer. You know, this was a team that was at Worlds groups, right? Large portions of it that we had a lot of faith in, that could challenge some of the best teams in the world, if you care to mention some. And like, this guy comes in, puts on the kind of LeBlanc performances you've seen, just his regular season performances, the amount of bans he's drawing, the style with which he does it as well. Just such a playmaker. It wasn't enough today, but I tell you now, this guy is going to be a star wherever he ends up. He's really, really got it, and you saw a hint
Watch
of
him in
it
summer.
nearly there.
Well, I think this is kind of the end of the broadcast, guys. DFM have officially blown up. We do have a little bit more coming to you. The player of the series there is going to be Utapon. We get some stats on the board. There's some amazing games on their wins.
No.
That's
Wow.
actually absurd. That's absurd. And if there's one thing which Utapon brings, it's just sheer bloody consistency. How the hell do you kill this guy? And he's still got an incredible set of damage numbers to back that up as well. When you have a region with Honey and Sol in it, amongst others, for Utapon to still put out these kind of numbers, again, after this tenure, like, showing that old dogs can very much learn new tricks. Again, so impressive to see.
No, it truly is. It truly is impressive for him. I thought someone else was going to jump in and say something there.
I was thinking about it because he was like, well, what do I add here? He's like, he's just really good. Like, the guy's played every role competitively except mid and won on all of them. Like, what do you want this guy to not? Like, there's so little for this guy to prove at this point. Like, aside from maybe go a bit further in international competition, he's right up there with the greatest League of Legends. Whether you count major region players or not, he's just a brilliant, brilliant player. And I look forward to seeing his continued success. I'm looking forward to see what he can do on an international stage.
Definitely indeed. But that is going to be the conclusion of the show. DFM have blown up this split, and they're making their way to MSI once again. Another trophy to add to their cabinet. And commiserations to Sengoku as well. But that has been all from us today. We've enjoyed it very much. Hope you guys at home as well have too. And we'll be back to see you guys later.